Hey, this is Liz from People I Think Are Cool, a bi-weekly podcast where I interview my favorite creatives from across the globe. If you're looking for a dose of creative inspiration, then go to peopleithinkarecool.com or subscribe to People I Think Are Cool on iTunes and Stitcher.
You like film, from cult to classic, from blockbuster to B-movies. And there just isn't that one place with all the fan fervor and passion that's covering the kind of mad, diverse brilliance that you love.
Well, that's where you're wrong.
AfterMovieDiner.com is that fan-built movie nirvana just for you, featuring the sweet, sweet writings of the wife dork herself. AfterMovieDiner.com. Go there. Be the best you can be.
You are listening to the In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast, the official podcast of the Alamo Drafthouse, Winchester.
Welcome to another edition of the It Modcast podcast. Joining us is Brian Young, the Turtle Dork.
Happy Friday, everybody.
And also joining us is Lisa Gullickson, wife dork.
I thought I was going to have a quote, but then I forgot it.
And Brad Gullickson, mouth dork.
Happy Death Day to all of you.
Yeah! And I'm your host, Darren Smith, the Disco Dork. And welcome to another edition of the It Modcast podcast, Fistful Friday. Yeah!
It's Friday. It feels so good.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. It's been a while since we've done a Fistful Friday.
Yeah, it's been several Fridays since we've done Fistful Friday.
But that's because we just didn't have Happy Death Day to You to celebrate.
I know.
And now we do. That movie is rad, both of them. I love them both so much.
I haven't seen Happy Death Day 1. I hope I can follow the second film.
You sure?
I think I should be okay.
Be able to. I was freakishly excited for Happy Death Day 2.
Same.
Because I really enjoyed the first one. And yeah, so in honor of that, we have a Fistful of Ruff Starts. Brian, speaking of rough starts, start us off with your number
Slam.
5.
Shots fired already.
Brian is having a rough start of this podcast.
I know.
Poor self-esteem.
So, my number 5, I'm going to kick it off with a movie that's kind of similar with Happy Death Day, and I might be stealing somebody's
You
pick.
motherfucker.
Yeah, I don't care, though. Edge of Tomorrow.
You motherfucker.
With Tom Cruise. So he's having a pretty rough start. And I like the fact that this movie kind of plays like a video game with him. You know, it's kind of, they describe it like Groundhog's Day, the sci-fi version of Groundhog's Day. So, of course, as he repeats the day over and over again, it just kind of plays like a video game where he gets further and further. But, of course, in the beginning, he dies a lot. I think he dies like coming out of the plane, and then he gets there and he gets killed again. So he's not having a good go at it. But as he goes along, he does start to learn the ins and outs and where he needs to go to survive, to get a little bit further and a little bit further and a little bit further. So I like the way that kind of plays and the way Doug Liman directs it. I think Edge of Tomorrow is it's a very well edited film, because with a movie like that, the fact that it's kind of repetitive, I think you could have some pacing issues with that, but the way Doug Liman and his editor is able to really kind of truncate a lot of that stuff once you understand the context of the film and understand the language of that type of storytelling, they're able to really do that to make it more relatable or make it easier to digest as you're watching the film. So I just thought that movie was, and Emily Blunt is just badass in that movie. So
She's a badass in everything. She was a badass in Mary Poppins 2, or whatever that movie was called. Mary Poppins Returns.
yeah, she's awesome, man.
Mary Poppins Edge of Tomorrow. Mary
Yeah.
Poppins
Edge of Mary Poppins.
Edge. Oh,
Yeah, well.
that sounds dirty. Edging Mary Poppins.
Whoa.
But yeah, that was a pretty good movie. I know you just recently watched that, didn't you?
Yeah, motherfucker. You know I just recently rewatched that.
That's why you got to sweep in quick with your number 5.
Darren and I exchanged a bunch of texts over Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah, I did not go to work on Friday, so I was watching that film, and man, I can't even say I forgot how good that movie was, because I know how good the movie is, but just watching it just reaffirmed, like, that movie is great. That's one of the best science fiction movies of the last decade, 25 years probably. Like, in that we have movies like Groundhog Day, so it's not an entirely new trope, but to be able to take that trope and spin an original science fiction story out of it, but not only have a unique science fiction story, but even the lead character, Tom Cruise's Cage, Lieutenant Cage, or Private Cage when he gets bust down, having that be a unique character to Tom Cage's filmography, in the sense that, normally Tom Cage, if it's an action movie,
Tom Cruise, you mean?
I'm sorry, Tom Cruise.
He so embodied the role,
right?
And now his name is Tom Cage.
Normally in Tom Cruise's action movies, the roles, the characters that he plays, he's already the capable star. He's already capable action hero. He's already able to do all the badass things that he's going to end up doing by the end of the film. When in this movie, it's not the case. He's a coward, and like Brian said, and the reason why he's his pick and was my pick. He does have a rough start at it, and through muscle memory, through experience, like life, you just get better. He just has that experience truncated. But actually, it's only truncated in the movie. But for him, we don't know how many times he's done that, because eventually he gets so good that he can become, the unstoppable Tom Cruise. I almost said Tom Cage. Anyway, yeah.
I like it because I feel like it wasn't the first, but it was like part of that subgenre of Tom Cruise is shitty at stuff. Like, let's watch Tom Cruise fall on his face like 15 times.
Yeah. And so, I forgot, just the way Brian said, the way that it was edited, but just also the look of that film and how you incorporate some contemporary stuff from what we know now. There's a familiarity, but there's enough science fiction and futuristic elements to separate it from our present and push it a little bit ahead into the future, and all of it is executed perfectly. So yeah, it's a great film. So I'm not going to have it on mine. I'm going to switch it out of spite, Brian. Lisa, your number 5.
My number 5 is just a little, it's not even a humble brag. It's just like a straight up brag moment, because I'm going to do a movie that I saw at Sundance.
I was going to say, you can't use yourself as your number 5.
Oh, yeah. How I get up every morning and I'm just killing it every day. That I don't have a rough start to my day. I'm a morning person. It's the end of my day that starts getting rough. I start, like, if I don't get to bed right away, I start getting angsty, getting cranky pants. Okay, so whenever we do our fistful of killing it in the morning, then I'll use myself as number 5. But in the meantime, I'm going to use one of the weirder films that I saw at Sundance, and that is the Swedish film Coco Day. And the reason I'm using it is because it has that kind of Edge of Tomorrow, Happy Death Day to You, Groundhog's Day, little time loop where they're reliving like the same like little slice, and they don't necessarily, it's almost like 3 Feet Ball and Chain that we saw at Fantastic Fest, where they're not really sure what they're remembering or if they're remembering something. The realization that they're reliving and reenacting this moment kind of dawns on them slowly, more like a bad feeling. So the film is about this couple, and they have a daughter. She looks to be about 7 or 8. They go on vacation together, and unfortunately, their daughter just passes away. And so 3 years later, they are going on vacation again. Their marriage is falling apart. They're constantly bickering, and of course, like, they're going on vacation. They never really want to go on vacation again because it just reminds them of their daughter and what they're missing. And so they're doing a road trip, and they decide, well, the husband Tobias decides that they're going to pull over and camp instead of staying at a bed and breakfast. The wife wants to stay at a bed and breakfast, but he's like, no, we've got all the camping gear. It's already been decided. We're just going to do So the little loop of time starts with the wife waking up and going like, I have to pee. But I'm scared. Can I just pee under the mosquito net? And he's like, no, get over yourself. It'll be fine. Go outside and pee. It'll be fine. But when she goes outside to pee, these 3 mysterious people come out of the forest, and they humiliate him and murder her, and they're carrying a dead dog. We don't know why. And that little moment of her waking up saying, I have to pee, and like Tobias kind of gradually going like there's something really weird going on, but then it just happens again and again and again, and they're killed in different ways. It's the same kind of thing. But it's weird because like this little time loop thing is kind of just like one chapter of the film, and there's so much going on around the film. There is like the part about leading up to when their child passes away has a really kind of weird vibe to it. Like they're wearing like bunny makeup for no reason. Well, not, I mean, because they're on vacation, maybe. You know, there's a music box. Maybe there's something weird going on with
when
the
you
music
say they're
box.
wearing bunny makeup, what do you mean they're wearing bunny
Like
makeup?
they have their faces made up like they're bunnies. And
The
they're wearing
parents?
bunny ears. Yeah,
Oh,
the
the whole
whole
family.
family.
Okay.
And then there's like this shadow puppet element where there's a shadow puppet of a bunny family that loses their little bunny baby, and there's a rooster, and then the whole piece is tied together by this folk song where the refrain is coco 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 di coco day, and that is like the sound that a rooster makes, and the song is about like the rooster's dead, the rooster's not going to be able to sing anymore. And so this one song is played in multiple iterations of orchestration throughout the piece, kind of binding the whole thing together. But there's like this weird folk element to it. It's a very unsettling movie. There's a few jump scares, but this was a film. I think there was about 20 people in the theater to start, and by the end of the movie, it was just me and 4 other people watching the movie.
Oh,
there were
man.
so many walkouts.
Is it bad?
I don't think that it's bad. It's definitely tonally, like, it gets uncomfortable to the point where people are, like, giggling. It's in Danish or Swedish. I don't know. But, but it got to the point where, like, there was, like, a couple of people whenever she would wake up and say, I have to pee. In Danish, people were, like, saying it along with her. Like, it was, like, Rocky Horror or something. It was, like, I think it just made people uncomfortable, and they just didn't know what to do with that, and so they're like, this is stupid, I'm leaving.
And you saw it as a press and industry screening, right?
Yeah, I did. So
That's
it was
weird.
press people. I actually have come to the conclusion that press and industry people are more likely to leave than someone who is paid for a movie. And I think that some people see it like as a badge of honor, like, I thought it was so shitty, I left, you know, whereas just like me, I'm like, this is weird, but I'm staying to the bitter end. And I did. And like, the more I think about the movie, the more I respect it for, like, the message. Because the message really is, like, kids, bring all of this magic into your life where you're allowed to be whimsical. You are allowed to pretend. But then when the child dies, that magic doesn't leave. That magic then, like, tortures you. Like, and that whimsy and that sense of possibility and that sense of legacy you had while your child is there isn't gone. Now it's just darker, and that's what I took away from the movie, and I really appreciated it because it is a hard thing to talk about.
I want to see that shit.
Yeah,
That sounds-
I'd be interested.
That sounds really interesting.
What you thought about it, because at first when I came out of the movie, I was like, it was okay. I think I liked it. And then I heard I overheard someone in line, like, shitting on it. And then I was like, I'm going after this person. And I found, like, kind of awakened this kind of, like, no, this guy was really, the director and writer is Johannes Nyholm. And I thought he was really trying to say something, and he found a really different way to say it. I mean, I haven't seen anything like it. Like, I've seen, you know, time loop films before.
But you're saying this movie doesn't rest on just that.
Yeah, there's other stuff going on.
I really want to check that out.
Yeah,
Huh.
it's a weird one.
All right. Good pick.
Thanks.
B, your number 5.
For my number 5, it's not a person who wakes up in the morning. In fact, it's a person who cannot sleep at all. So every day for him is a rough start. It's the 1985 John Landis not classic Into the Night. Jeff Goldblum plays this Los Angeles engineer who just cannot get to sleep at night. And at the beginning of the film, you know, he's in traffic, exhausted, going to work. He gets to work. He can't concentrate in his meetings. His boss is David Cronenberg. His coworker is Dan Aykroyd. and that's it for them in the movie. They just show for this one scene, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go home, and I'll see if I can just sleep in the day or something. I'm gonna try it again. But he goes home and he discovers that his wife is sleeping with another man, and he doesn't get too upset by it. He just goes like, "Yep, this tracks with how crappy my life is right now.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna walk away." And he was told that if you go to the airport, that's relaxing. So he drives out to the airport, parks the car, sits, contemplates his terrible existence. And while he's waiting there in the parking garage of LAX, Michelle Pfeiffer comes charging out of the garage, falls on top of his car. She's being chased by some ne'er-do-wells, jumps in the car, and he drives off. And that starts his adventure. Michelle Pfeiffer turns out to be a jewel thief of sorts. Not really, but let's stick with the IMDb plot description of her. And it's one of those movies where just one crazy situation happens after another. And while there is a overarching plot, it's more about the tiny people that he comes into contact with, whether that's Dan Aykroyd and David Cronenberg or David Bowie as this international hitman. It's a wild movie, and it's a rough start, but maybe Jeff Goldblum finds himself along the way, and maybe he connects with another human in Michelle Pfeiffer's Jewel Thief. Yeah. I love their chemistry, and this is certainly one of my favorite Michelle Pfeiffer movies. She is badass, and one of my favorite sequences is where you get to meet her Elvis-loving brother. I won't spoil any more of it than that, but that's a great sequence as well. So yeah, it's like a series of sketches in a lot of ways. Thumbs up. 2 thumbs up.
Dude, I gotta go I haven't seen that movie in forever. It's such a good movie.
It came out and bombed spectacularly.
Yeah.
And I really do think, after the big Landis movies, after An American Werewolf in London, The Blues Brothers, Coming to America, Trading Places, like those movies, Into the Night falls in right behind those.
Goldblum is so good in that
He's so good in
it. I gotta rewatch that before we record the next. You got that on?
Yeah, I got it on Blu-ray. I'm
going to borrow that. Yeah. Damn. Okay. All right. Great pick. My number 5, since Brian took my number 1, I'm gonna go with Kill Bill. Because at the start of that movie, she gets shot in the head.
Yeah, she has a rough start.
Just kidding. I'm not gonna do that. My number 5 is Midnight Run, starring Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin. Robert De Niro is a bounty hunter, skip tracer, I think is what do you call it? And he is tasked with escorting Charles Grodin.
Great movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie in forever, but I just remember loving that film. And their relationship has a rough start. They don't even it's not even a relationship. It's very antagonistic, if you want to call it a relationship. De Niro does not like Charles Grodin, and Charles Grodin does not want to be with Robert De Niro. But like those buddy pictures, over the course of the film and their road trip and their adventures, they grow to care for one another and have a respect for one another. I caught that movie. I caught this movie on HBO when it came out.
See this on the big screen.
Big screen. Me too.
Yeah, Alamo should play this.
They should play this. I got to see if we can get Andy or Brian or someone to screen that.
Make that happen.
Yeah, it's a good film. Well, I can't remember. Was that Brian and I talking about buddy pictures and how I think it was when Brian and I were recording last, and how you don't. Oh, when we were talking about Hobbs and Shaw, and this is a different type of team up, but a film where you have two opposite personalities and they come together and carry that film.
The Shane Black formula.
Yeah, like I dig it, and this particular film, just the way De Niro plays that character, but also like Charles Grodin, because Charles Grodin is like really in the film, as far as I can remember, he's like a square guy. Like he's like he's not into like all the action and all the drama that's going on around him that he got himself wrapped up in. But I just like the way that those two opposites played off of each other. And I just remember, I can't even remember, I don't know who directed the film, but I just remember it just being a very well-made film. And then when you have two actors of that caliber as the leads, it's a great and fun film. So if you haven't seen Midnight Run, it's from the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely check it out. It's worth a watch. So that's going to be my number 5.
What were you watching there, Lisa?
Nothing.
Oh.
Sorry. Poking around on
Brian,
my laptop.
Your number 4.
My number 4, I'm gonna go with. I'm struggling with this one, but I think I could do it. Back to the Future. Not Marty McFly, but George McFly. Basically, just having a rough start with Biff. So we see in the beginning, before Marty goes back to the future, Biff is being a bully, and he really wants the affection of his mother, Lorraine, yeah. And so he's being bullied by Biff, and he's a bit of a little weak.
He's a wet napkin.
He's a wet napkin, a little bit spineless. And Marty comes back and kind of shows him how to kind of toughen up a little bit. And especially like seeing them in the present day, seeing older George McFly and how Biff treats him. And then after everything happens and he gets the courage to knock Biff out, and then we come back to 1985 and seeing Biff and Marty and George McFly, who now has a book. He's a best-selling author, and Biff is cleaning his car, and he's got to put that second coat of wax on. And so he came up. He had a rough start there, but now he's good, and I like that art for George McFly. I thought it was really good for him.
The whole idea of your decisions as a child, as a teenager, will
how it affects you as a grown man.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So yeah, that's my number 4. Old George McFly. He's not dancing in the corner anymore by himself.
Lisa, your number 4.
My number 4, Jesse and Chester wake up with hangovers, a refrigerator full of pudding, and an angry voicemail from Wilma and Wanda. My number 4 is, Dude, Where's My Car?
That's a great pick. They have a rough start.
They have a rough start to their day, and they want to get their special treats, so they better follow all those weird clues. And they go on an adventure they never anticipated.
I love this movie.
This movie is like a fine wine. Like, yeah, it just gets better with age.
Yeah,
I think.
I'm going to have to rewatch this film.
Well, guess what? I've got the Blu-ray of that, too.
I remember trying to watch it the first time, back when it first came out. I don't know, it just didn't align with my sense of humor at that time, I guess.
To me, I feel like it was a very like 90s, well, technically it came out in 2000, but a very unevolved attitude about drugs, like what marijuana and alcohol can really do to you. Like alcohol, you'll black out, but like this kind of weird presentation of marijuana culture that I think really can't happen again.
Yeah.
There's not going to be another Dude, Where's My Car necessarily.
It graduated to Your Highness.
Yeah, there you go, the peak. But to me, just there's a certain nostalgia attached to this era of Ashton Kutcher, this era of Sean William Scott. What's that guy up to? Nobody knows. Dude, where's Sean William Scott?
Dude, Where's My Car is an incredibly weird movie, and that's what I respond to. It's not just a stoner comedy where some guys lose their car. It's a stoner comedy in which they battle ostriches and a cult, and
there's a sci-fi element.
Yeah, there's aliens, people.
There's hotties.
Yeah, there's a giantess. It's a really weird, bizarre movie, and I love it.
Yeah,
I find
giant
it really...
panties.
What?
Giant panties.
What more is there to say? Charm. Just charm upon charm.
It feels like it's similar to those Harold and Kumar because
it's the same filmmakers.
Oh, okay.
Really?
It's a genre.
Oh.
It's a auteur groove.
Okay.
I did not know that. All right. Brad, your number 4.
Shoot, it should be Dude, Where's My Car? That movie is a great movie. I love that movie. I saw that back to back with Apocalypse Now.
Yes.
That was a weird double feature.
Yes, it is.
I preferred Dude, Where's My Car? My number 4 is another 80s film. It's a horror movie, one that I recently just showed Lisa, and I think she enjoyed it. It's from 1987. The director is Clive Barker, and the film is Hellraiser. And the rough start goes to Frank, brother Frank, who he dabbled in a demonic puzzle box, had his flesh ripped off his bones by some supernatural chains and Cenobites and Pinhead and the Chatterbox and all those cool guys, and goes to hell. And when his brother and his wife move into his home, accidentally cuts his not his wrist, but the webbing between the thumb and the index finger, it cuts it on a nail, and the brother's blood hits the attic floor, and it resurrects Frank from hell. And that's quite a rough start. And a gloriously gooey
dude, those
resurrection
practical effects in that movie.
Amazing practical effects. So he comes back as this meaty, slimy, KY'd out skeleton meat man. And his brother's wife, who he used to have an affair with, what is her name? Julia, played by Claire Higgins. She learns that Frank has been resurrected, and it rekindles all the lustful feelings that she has deep in her loins. And he convinces her to lure men to the attic, where she will hit them in the head with a hammer so that their blood will add to his body. So every kill gives him a little more meat on his bones until he is fully resurrected. Of course, it might be too late because the Cenobites are looking for his escaped soul. And yeah, I love Hellraiser. Lisa, you liked Hellraiser.
I did.
Yeah, it's a
Really?
gross little movie.
Yeah.
Shit. Okay.
But super British. I think that's like what people forget about Hellraiser. It's a crazy British movie.
I absolutely forget that.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah, that's right. Huh.
Yep. So yeah, what
All
a
right.
rough start.
Great pick.
Doesn't have a great ending for Frank either.
But for me, it does. That's amazing. All right, my number 4. This young lady was in Serenity, the film I talked about on my Week in Dork. It is Anne Hathaway in Nacho Villagando's Colossal. She has multiple rough starts, if I'm not mistaken. The opening of that film, she's been out partying too much, and she comes home to the end of her relationship with her boyfriend, played by Dan Stevens. So she returns to her hometown to kind of start over. And so she has a rough start there as well, trying to get out of her drinking ways. And she meets an old high school friend, played by Jason Sudeikis. And they kind of pick back up where they not really left off, but, get to know each other. And then he attempts to help her get back on her feet, offers her a job at the bar that he owns. And then like some crazy shit starts to happen. If you haven't seen Colossal, I won't spoil it for you. All I will say that it is a special gem of a film.
It's great.
And a very original premise, concept, and execution. And I have to tip my hat to Nacho Villagando for doing that in this day and age. A very entertaining film. Anne Hathaway is great in
I think
that
it's
movie.
her best movie,
It is her
performance-wise.
best movie performance-wise.
I know you really liked Serenity in your Week in Dork, but
I did, but that movie and her performance cannot hold a candle to the credit sequence of this film. Yeah, if you haven't seen this movie, do yourself a favor. I purposely kept out spoilers and specifics and details because if you can discover that on your own, I highly recommend it. But just know that it is worth watching. It does have the ItMod seal of approval to 4 thumbs up, 8 thumbs up. Right? Yeah, so check that movie out if you haven't seen it. But yeah, if you have, then you know why it would be on my list. So yeah, that's my number 4. Colossal. Brian, you're number 3.
So my number 3, I'm gonna go to the superhero genre. And
Do you realize like anyone's entire fistful could be like superhero movies? Batman had a rough start. Superman had a rough start. Peter Parker had a rough start. That's origin stories. All right, sorry.
Yeah, I know.
I digress.
But I'm gonna go to more of a real life superhero. Something that takes place in the real world where people can actually get injured and hurt, and there's actual consequences to their actions. I'm talking about Kick-Ass.
that's the real world.
Like, what the fuck?
But yeah, Kick-Ass, he has a pretty rough start because he gets the costume and he wants to do something. Aaron Taylor Johnson, who plays Dave Lazowski.
You had it right the first time.
Lazowski. Yeah, there we go. There it is. Yeah, so he gets the costume and he sees two thugs there. He wants to help out, and he ends up getting stabbed and is running out, and then gets hit by a car, and then he loses all feeling, all this nerve ending, so he has no feeling now. But as he runs into Big Daddy and Hit Girl, he starts to learn what it is to become a hero. And he's learns how to become a hero. He gets that jetpack at the end, and he has this moment. So a little rough start. It's not good getting hit by a car.
A jetpack in that movie?
Oh my God! Yeah, you don't remember Kick-Ass?
Yeah, the ending.
Yeah, he's got a jetpack
And like a rocket launcher.
Yeah, rocket launcher.
right.
Mark Strong. Mark Strong. Yeah. So rough start for Dave Lazowski. But he does learn how to become a hero.
All right. Lisa, your number 3.
My number 3, I'm really digging into the aughts.
Yeah.
It's a film from 2006, Crank.
Yeah.
Jeff Chelios, he just had a really full day of doing a great job of being a contract killer. He's sleepy beepy. He hits the hay. When he wakes up, he's been injected with some kind of crazy poison, and he becomes the speed bus of people, and he has to keep his adrenaline up, because if he goes under 50 miles per hour of blood speed, he will die.
The speed bus of people.
Oh, man.
Put that on the poster.
Yeah.
Crank is great.
Crank is great. I mean, the momentum of the film is just built into the concept. And of course, Jason Statham is so charismatic and crazy and watchable.
It's not as good as its sequel, Crank 2 High Voltage.
Oh, stay tuned. What if that's my number 2? What number are we
I
on?
do remember seeing the first Crank. Is that the one was he even having sex with Amy Smart
Yeah.
in the train with
'Cause
and all the
nothing keeps-
people
Yep.
were cheering them on?
Nothing keeps up your adrenaline like public sex.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Oh, he's nuts.
Crank 2 High Voltage 10-year anniversary.
Is it?
Yep, this is it. This is the year. We're going to have to do a whole Crank 2 episode.
We should.
We should.
2009 it came
Yeah,
out?
2009. Same year as Star Trek, the J.J. Abrams reboot.
Damn.
And Up.
And Zombieland.
Up had a rough start.
Yeah.
Damn.
For
Lots
all
of
of
crying.
us. All of us.
Damn. All right, great pick, Lisa.
Why, thank you.
B, you're number 3.
I'm sticking to the 80s. 1987. A Gary Marshall. Again, classic. I'll put quotes around that. It's Overboard, starring Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. Goldie Hawn's character has a rough start. She lives a life of luxury, and she's very serious, and she's a little mean, but she's her own person, and she's demeaning, especially to the poor people around her, and the poor man who is her worker, played by Kurt Russell. But when she falls off of a boat, knocks her head, she forgets who she is, and Kurt Russell, being the swell dude that he is, knows that he has all these kids at home who need taken care of, and he can't do it because he's a working dad. He kidnaps Goldie Hawn and tells her, "Hey, you're my wife. You remember, you're my wife." And she goes, "I'm your wife? Yes, you're my wife. Now get to work around the house and keep taking care of my kids and feed them and clothe them. And yes, I win the lottery."
When did this movie come out?
1987.
All right, so when it came out, I loved that film, and I haven't seen it since it was showing on HBO like back in the day. But I just, from them, I had always taken with me that I just loved that movie because I would watch it over and over. Hearing you put the synopsis out like that, that's fucked up. That is so wrong.
I haven't watched it in a while. They recently did a remake where they gender flipped the character.
Anna Faris, yeah.
Yeah, with Anna Faris. And that the trailers for that looked so bad.
Yeah.
It made me curious to revisit Overboard with Kurt Russell. And I really should, because for me as a kid, I actually didn't love this movie because I liked Kurt Russell as Snake Plissken, another guy who has a rough start, as Jack Burton, another guy who has a rough start. That was the Kurt Russell I liked. Tango and Cash. Ooh, guys, he's always having rough starts. But Overboard, and the idea that, together, Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, they're still a couple. There's such an odd pairing, and as a child I just did not like it. I did not like them as a couple. I always thought, he should really still be with Stallone.
I think I was smitten with Goldie Hawn. Like when Goldie Hawn is happy, like Private Benjamin Goldie, like I just
Wildcats.
Oh my god, I love Goldie Hawn.
I like
then
Goldie.
Even now, but so I think maybe that's what it was.
I really need to revisit it because where I can recall Hellraiser, no problem. I cannot recall all the plot elements of Overboard, so maybe it's time for a revisit, and maybe it'll hold up, and maybe it sure won't.
I like Laughing Goldie Hawn.
Aww.
That too, like
Laughing was really.
I
good.
never liked Laughing.
Really?
Damn.
I hated Laughing.
Oh,
it always made me uncomfortable. Like Benny Hill. Benny Hill also.
Oh yeah, even that show. Fuck.
Yeah. I just never...
That was just an old guy being a perv to like women, like every woman he saw.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Yeah, that's nuts. Okay. Damn. All right. My number 3 it's a film that came out, I want to say last year. It's fairly recent. It's The Night Comes for Us because it's amazing, but also the rough start is really just the film, like the opening of the film. There's a village and people who are slaughtered. And
it's a real rough start for them, and a rough ending.
Right, and the sole survivor of this massacre is a little girl, and one of the hitmen, played by Joe Taslim, decides to have a change of heart in that moment when he's supposed to kill her, and that's setting off a chain of events of retribution and revenge and a whole bunch of ass kicking. We've talked about this film at length. It was a film that we got to see, fortunately, at Fantastic Fest. It has since debuted on Netflix and has garnered a nice following, and rightfully so. So I won't go into specifics and rehash what we said about the film. Just know that the movie starts with a bang and ends with multiple bangs. But yeah, that's my number 3 as for my Fistful of Ruff Starts. Brian, your number 2.
So my number 2, I want to go to the dance world.
Step Up to the Streets.
Absolutely, that's my number 2. So Step Up to the Streets, the best of the Step Up movies.
Yep,
absolutely love that movie. So I don't have the actors or
you want to talk about Mad Chad? You can do the robot.
He's not in 2.
Oh, is he in 3?
Yeah. Moose is in 2.
No, Moose is in he's in 2 and he's in 3.
But what about Mad Chad?
He doesn't come to the 3rd one.
No.
Brienne
of Tarth.
Of Tarth.
Evigan?
Brianna.
Yeah. She's part of the group. So she goes to the school, and she has her former group in Baltimore that she used to dance with, and they get mad at her because she's actually going out and getting an education for whatever reason. I don't understand. But so she gets some of the kids from the dance group at school, and they go out to the club, and they got a little bit of a rough start, trying to dance as a group together, and they get embarrassed there. But they practice and they practice more, and the ending of that movie when they actually come together and then understand what it means to be a team, to be a dance group together. They have an awesome dance out in the rain to one of the great songs by Timbaland. that I don't have pulled up.
Damn.
But I love this movie, man. I mean, Step Up to the Streets. I recently rewatched this, I think sometime last year, and I just had a blast watching that movie. It's just
story-wise, it's ridiculous.
It's so
but at
much
the same
fun,
time, it's so fun, man. Just to see them kids dance the way they dance, and like Moose is my favorite character in that whole franchise. Like that dude is a beast.
Mad Chad.
Yeah.
And Mad Chad is a beast too. He's a beast too. I really like him. But Moose has more personality than Mad Chad.
That's
I'm sorry.
true. Well, he's a robot.
Lisa, your number 2.
My number 2, I'm doing some mad tapping on this keyboard because I've just pulled an audible.
Oh, shit.
Because I feel like like I played the crank card a little early. How can I top crank?
That's correct.
And so I have like 10 Cloverfield Lane as my number 2. But she wakes up and, like, you know, after being in a car crash, but things don't, like, that, in terms of where that movie goes, she had a pretty easy start because it ends way rougher than when her waking up and thinking, like, this is awkward, but probably fine. So I had to, like, to get rid of that. And then I was like, well, Cowboys and Aliens, right?
Great rough start.
Yeah.
How does that movie start?
Daniel Craig wakes up in the desert,
He's got
like the thing on his hand. But then that's another one where it's just like, yeah, it's a little awkward at first. Like they want to arrest him, and but then things get way rougher later. So that one is a good one. But I thought of the perfect one. I'm super proud of myself. My number 2 is another early aughts classic. Came out the year I graduated from high school. 28 days later, Cillian Murphy wakes up from a coma and it's a zombie apocalypse. That's rough.
Yeah, it is.
Yep, that works. That tracks.
Shockingly, I saw this in the theater. Considering it's like the most vomity zombie film.
I haven't seen that one in a while.
I haven't seen it. It's got the
Is it
fast
vomity?
zombies. Yeah,
Okay.
that's one
seen it
of the
since it came
first,
out.
like that, and it's like all kind of like, it's really
you don't have
horrible.
to reenact it.
But yeah, that's a rough start to coming out of your coma.
I would not want to wake up in the zombie apocalypse.
That's
coming
your
out
boy
of the
Rick
coma.
Grimes did that,
I know.
And in the apocalypse is another one where they get up for school. And it's a zombie apocalypse upside, but it starts with a really wonderful number. So like that's not a rough start. That's like a wonderful start.
28 weeks later was one of our first dating movies.
That's true. Isn't that sweet?
Yeah.
Well, I love me some Cillian Murphy, and I really love me some Brad. Ellison.
All right. Great pick.
Thank you.
All right, B, your number 2.
My number 2 is a movie I watched this morning. It is Robert Rodriguez's The Faculty. And the rough start for me is for a particular character. It has to be Casey, played by Elijah Wood.
Oh, okay. Not Zeke.
No, not Zeke. Zeke starts not that bad. Zeke's a burnout. He's having a good old time in the beginning of that movie.
Yeah.
Is Casey the one that, during the opening credits, they take him to the flagpole?
That's
Rough
exactly.
start.
Yeah, that was what I was going to talk about. It's how he starts his day at school. Those are some hardcore bullies. Like he gets picked up by a whole gang of dudes, and they ram his balls right into a flagpole. I was watching that this morning. I was like, "This is harsh.
Yeah.
Like, this is definitely not a high school bully situation I was ever in. In fact, I think those kids should go to jail."
Yeah,
And
pretty
Casey
much.
should not be in school that day.
And like, what's so great about that is, he steps off of the bus, and the first thing that happens is he gets elbowed in the face, and Clea Duvall walks by and like mocks him as he's like bleeding out. He gets racked. Then these guys pick him up. He gets racked into the flagpole, and then he goes into the bathroom and he has to plug up his nose while Josh Hartnett is selling drugs to that guy from that '70s show.
Yeah.
And by the end of the movie, the plot is it's an invasion of the body snatchers kind of thing.
Yeah.
These little slug things have invaded the faculty of the school, and they're now taking over the entire town. The burnouts and the nerds and the goths and the football jocks, they all have to team up to take on the alien menace. And they win. They take down B.B. Newirth and Robert Patrick, and Harry Knowles is one of the faculty members.
Harry Knowles, yeah.
That's right.
I'd forgotten about that. John Stewart from The Daily Show is the science
teacher. Yeah.
He's great in it.
Yeah, he's good.
Salma Hayek is the nurse.
Usher is in it.
Usher is
football
in
team.
it, barely, but he is there.
Yeah.
He's present to remind you what decade this was. And at the end of the film, Jordana Brewster from Fast and the Furious.
Yep.
This
Yeah,
is
she's
her
in it.
first theatrical role. She was in Days of Our Lives before this.
Oh, nice.
But she's the hot girl who's in love with the football jock at the beginning, or at least they're dating in the beginning. And by the end, Elijah Wood hooks up with her, and now he's got like a different hairstyle. He survived the alien invasion. He's looking good, so he has a nice ending. A happy ending, probably. But yeah, that rough start. Oof, brutal.
Dang, what year did that movie come out?
1998.
Oh, 98?
Yep.
Oh, I thought it was 99.
Sorry,
Okay.
I've got IMDb up.
No,
It's
you're
98.
right. 98.
December 25th. That's probably why
That's
you're
why.
thinking.
It
That's
was
2
right.
days
It was
before my
right.
birthday.
Yeah. Did you watch this in the theater, Lisa?
No.
This was a Christmas movie for me. I saw it on Christmas.
Yeah.
I would have been too scary for me because I wasn't allowed to watch PG-13 movies.
Rewatching it this morning, I was saying to Darren before we recorded, it's definitely a Robert Rodriguez movie, especially you look at some of these cast members and some of his directing choices.
Yeah.
The way he handles CG in the film. But it's
Damn.
definitely a Kevin Williamson movie, a Dimension film.
Is that for better or for worse?
Again, it's like Usher, man. It's roots it right in the 90s. Yeah. Oh, Famke Janssen's in this too.
Yes, she is.
And she's great in it.
Yes, she
Gets her
is.
head cut off.
Oh my God, and it grows
reattaches
legs.
it.
Yeah.
It's such a wannabe thing movie, but it works.
Yeah. All right.
It's
I
fun.
I gotta rewatch that one.
It's worth a rewatch.
Yeah.
It's on Shudder.
I gotta check Shudder out. I gotta check.
Get
Shudder.
a free trial run.
I have it on Blu-ray.
Of course you do.
All right.
We know you're Josh Hartnett love. You got like a whole
yeah,
Josh
I do.
Hartnett
He got a
shelf.
shrine.
I
yeah.
do.
My number 2 is another recent film, like The Night Comes For Us, as one that we also saw at Fantastic Fest, but it is not available for streaming yet. It was briefly, mistakenly, but that wasn't even the real version. And this is One Cut of the Dead, and it's really not because of the film. I don't feel the film has a rough start. It's the audience who thinks the film is having a rough start before it reveals its magic to you. If you haven't seen it, I won't spoil it. I will say that it's a great movie, and it's worth your time, even if you feel like it is going off to a rough start. Trust me, it is worth the investment. It pays off in spades. I will say that it's about a filming crew who are attempting to shoot a pilot for a zombie television series, and things don't go as expected, and the rest of the movie happens and it becomes magical. And I will say that it is one of my favorite films of 2018. And so if you haven't seen it, when it's available legally and in the correct in the correct way, definitely seek that movie out.
I think some Northern Virginia listeners might be getting an opportunity real soon.
Oh my gosh. Oh, you lucky few. All right. I'm excited. So yeah, that's my number 2, One Cut of the Dead. Brian, your number 1.
So I kind of made a boo-boo because I think I wanted Step Up to be my number 1.
Oh, no.
And I got too excited. Yeah. Because I love that movie so much.
It's so good.
But my number 2, which also could be my number 1, I don't really talk about some of my favorite things a lot, is going to be Power Rangers, the movie, the 2017 film. They got a bit of a rough start, just trying to come together as
Just
the
trying to remember that movie.
Damn. Well, they started in detention, right?
They started in detention, and just them coming together as a team, trying to work as a team, and and it's a great movie,
I
man.
don't remember it. I remember the rough start being like set on a distant planet when Zordon, what's his name? Zordon?
That's a rough start too. Yeah,
because he dies.
Yeah, he dies. But yeah, it's really just for the kids and really them having to come together as a team before they can actually morph. And so it's a bit of a rough start with them training and trying to learn how to use the Zords and really getting along. And ultimately, they're able to come together to fight against Rita Repulsa and Goldar, and it's glorious.
Step Up 2 beat out Power Rangers for you?
Yeah, because dude, come on, it's Step Up 2.
All right,
I
but
mean,
you love. I'm just saying. I know you love Power Rangers.
I love Power Rangers
Step Up to
a
the
lot.
Streets has that opening train sequence with the Jabberwockies.
Yeah.
And Channing Tatum makes his little cameo.
Yeah, Channing Tatum comes in. There's a little
great.
dance thing and with the trampolines.
You know what? I've seen every Step Up movie except for the first one.
Same.
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't think I've seen any except for the second.
Oh, 3D
Damn.
is pretty good. You haven't seen Mad Chad.
No, that's why I don't know what Mad Chad is.
You'll.
gotta
There's
get on
5
You're
of them.
like
You need to
Mad
fix
Chad.
that. You need to fix that, Brad.
There's 5 of them, right?
Yeah, there's
Because
5.
then there's 3D, then there's
For the Revolution.
Revolution,
And there's a new one. Like,
and then there's like
Yeah, there's another one after that.
Step Up Las Vegas.
And I consider all of the Magic Mike movies an extension of that universe. So
I do too.
What does Magic Mike? I love Magic Mike.
Step Up
XL.
High
Yeah, me
Water.
too.
I love that movie, but I wish I could.
There's actually
squeezed that on
6
my
Step
list.
Up films.
Damn.
They didn't have a. He
He had a great start. He started the
Yeah.
movie being Channing Tatum.
exactly. Yeah, no rough start in Double XL.
It goes Step Up to the Streets, Step Up 3D, Step Up Revolution. I don't know why it's not Step Up to the Revolution or for the Revolution. Step
For
Up
the
for the
Revolution.
Revolution.
That's so perfect.
And then there's Step Up All In.
All In.
And then last year, Step Up High Water.
That's a
I
series.
didn't even know about that shit.
High Water is the series. I think it's on YouTube Red. I think.
That's where it's going to stay.
Damn. All right. Damn, Brian, no Kill Bill. No Django. Django had a rough start.
Yeah, he had a rough start, but
It wasn't that rough.
I mean, I
slave.
try to stay away from Tarantino. 'Cause
Why?
I mean, I use Kill Bill way too much.
I think that you had you've taken maybe a year break from Kill Bill. I think you can start folding it back into the fold.
You're being
We've
a
got
little
new,
you're being a
we
little
got new
generous.
listeners.
I think Lisa is being generous.
Yeah, because I think I've used it.
You got to stay
within a
away
year.
from Bad Boys. You got to stay away from
No.
the Tarantino.
They had a rough start.
Well, I,
don't know.
stayed away
haven't seen
from
Bad
one.
Boys.
I was going to use, and hopefully no one else has this. I was going to use A League of Their Own, because I know I was like
You
used
used
that.
that one like a lot
Yeah.
last year.
I was the last one to use a League of Their Own.
because I thought Kit had a rough start,
Yeah.
but I was like, no, I've used that one, so I'll leave that off.
All right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
All right. I can dig it. Lisa,
Yes.
you're number one. I'm drawing a blank. I have no idea what your number
I
one
just
could
looked
be.
at Lisa's screen. This is a good rough start.
Yeah.
This person didn't. This is my only one where it's not necessarily you wake up in the morning and you're having a rough start.
But it's like The Faculty.
But this is one where the start of her womanhood was really a rough start, and it's Carrie,
Jeez.
1976, having her period
At
in
school.
the shower at school.
And it's like first period. I mean, not
Yeah.
first period. But it'd be like first class.
Like,
It's like early morning gym.
Oh, that's
yeah,
the
that
worst.
is a rough start. Also,
Plug it up. Plug it up. Those are some horrible bullies.
Those
Yeah.
are some bad bullies. Also, I guess I'll give a shout out to my girl because she has her first period and it's a rough start because she, like, her dad works
Oh,
at a mortuary and
The
she pops.
movie My Girl. I'm gonna give a shout out to my
My
girl
Girl.
who had her first. It's like, who?
Who was it? But yeah, she pops out. She goes to the restroom and she comes out screaming, I'm hemorrhaging, because she has a single dad and he didn't tell her about the joys of womanhood.
oh man,
Ah, Carrie though, that's a hell of a rough start.
Yeah.
I love that movie. It's a weird movie.
It is a weird movie, and I saw it for the first time this year.
I showed it.
Are you
to
seriously?
Yeah, because I've had so much of it spoiled to me
Yeah.
by Zeitgeist and
It's like Psycho. You think you
The
know what it
Simpsons.
is, but you don't know.
you
what
don't
it
know
is.
what it
How did
is.
it play for you?
I liked it. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it, but it is weird.
I mean,
and it
it's-
ends weird.
Yeah.
Weirder.
Brian De Palma,
He's a man with ideas.
he's a man.
But I think that Sissy Spacek is amazing.
Yeah, she's
Such
great.
a young
Yeah.
person.
Unnerved, unhinged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great movie.
All right. Great pick.
Thank you.
All right, B. What do you got? Number one.
So
I'm giving myself an A+ this week.
You should.
You gotta pat yourself on
You
the
were
back.
worried. Oh, I, don't
I
know
was
about
worried
my
about my
fistful.
week, but I pulled it together.
Yes, you did.
So I started with the 80s. I
Yep.
jumped to the 90s.
Yep.
It's time to go to the aughts. And
Yep.
this is the first film I thought of when we were talking about doing a Fistful of Rough Starts.
Yeah.
It's 2004. It's a film that premiered at the Sundance Film Festival. And I'm surprised to learn this, but it's James Wan's Saw.
Whoa.
Okay.
Lee Winnell wakes up
yeah.
and he's in some horrible basement,
Oh, yeah.
chained to a tub. There's a hacksaw near his leg.
That's Lee Winnell?
Lee Winnell, yeah.
Shit.
And
And he's like, "Where's my car?"
and across from him is Carrie Elways, who's also chained to the wall. And there's a tape recorder, and on that tape recorder is a voice belonging to the serial killer Jigsaw, who doesn't kill people himself. He puts them in scenarios where they have to kill themselves to free themselves. And Saw. Lee Winnell, not an actor. He's not the best performance-wise in Saw. But I mean, you definitely buy into his freaked outness.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I do love the concept of the first Saw. And if you're a longtime listener to Itmod, you know that I really enjoy where Saw goes from 2 on in particular, and how convoluted and switchbacky that narrative is. I love it. But the first Saw, it's a hell of a rough start, and it doesn't get any better, really.
Shout out to listener Joseph Jackson. He's a huge Lee Wanell fan.
Yeah.
I mean, Upgrade. We loved Upgrade.
Yeah, we did.
And I'm really excited to see what he does with Escape from New York.
And the Invisible Man. That's what's up first. Yeah, Invisible Man.
The Invisible Man remake, and then the Escape from New York remake.
Anyone else doing that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really?
Uh-huh.
I did not know that.
It's going to be interesting.
Huh.
I love that Blumhouse has taken over the Dark Universe.
Yeah, it makes sense, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
That's cool.
That's how it should be done. It shouldn't be these giant, massive Tom Cruise blockbusters.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. That Mummy movie was something.
Yeah, it was something. I like Russell Crowe in that film. Okay.
That was a movie.
It was a movie.
It was on a screen.
Yeah, it was.
I remember nothing about
Me
that
too, me
film.
neither.
It's not good, guys. It's not good.
All right. I just gave Brian shit for his repeated Kill Bill picks for his fistfuls.
Which he didn't have, and it was unnecessary shade.
Because
Mad Max.
oh my god, you know I thought about that. But I said, you know what, I used that movie too much, so I'm gonna go to one of my probably my third most used films on my fistful. And this is a really rough start to your first day at the new job. And that's because Alex Murphy goes to work and he gets murdered.
That's a rough
That
start.
is a rough start.
Yeah.
He gets murdered hard. So, yeah, RoboCop, Paul Verhoeven. Speaking of, remakes,
Yeah.
Neil Blomkamp taking over the reins for that, saying that he...
Is that going to happen?
Yeah.
I think it will.
I
hope so.
Yeah, it's been moving forward. That's from what I'm hearing, and him saying that he wants to make the film sort of in the way that Rodriguez did with Alita. Neil Blomkamp saying he's going to direct the film as if Verhoeven were picking up from where the franchise left off. If he were directing it, which I kind of respect that, because that just means Verhoeven squibs. I just need that. Alex Murphy gets to a new precinct, meets his new partner, Lewis. And they go out, and unfortunately, one of his first calls is to stop Clarence Bodiger and his gang, as they had just robbed a bank, and they are trying to escape in a truck full of money. And they corner them at an old warehouse, not even an old warehouse, like a factory type place. And he's cornered, disarmed. He's dishanded first, and then they shoot his arm off, and then they shoot the rest of his body, and then blow his head off. That was his first day at that precinct. Rough start, if I've ever heard one in my life. Great film. Totally horrific in its depiction of how Alex Murphy came to qualify for the OCP RoboCop program. Again, I said this on the podcast. I saw this film at a very early age, and it left a very striking impression on me.
Yeah.
And just within the context of science fiction films and how they're used for social commentary, and where we are in our society and the potentiality of where we could be if we got our shit together, or if we don't get our shit together. I like what Verhoeven does with the film, and how he uses that to look at those things. But at the end of the day, also, just from a science fiction and aesthetic standpoint, I just spoke about the remake or reboot or whatever they're planning to do, and just the character design of RoboCop.
So good.
That still holds up today. They could leave it the exact same, and it would not look out of place. I don't think. It is amazing character design.
RoboCop and the Creature from the Black Lagoon. Those are like two designs that you don't need to update
at all. And I have a feeling that Neil Blomkamp won't change it too much. He may do a little detail work here and there, but I have a feeling like his visage will be the same as it was in that 87 film. But yeah, it's a perfect movie. That movie is nuts. But just the caliber of actors in it. Peter Weller as RoboCop, Nancy Allen as Lewis, she's great. Kirkwood Smith as Clarence Bodiger is one of the most terrifying screen villains of all time. Doesn't have to have be dressed all in black and have a scarred face. He doesn't look like a typical bad guy, but it's just what he
looks
pulls,
like your dad.
Yeah,
it's
that's
what
what I was
he
about to
pulls
say.
from inside. It's what he pulls from inside and projects outward that is horrifying about that character. Brian,
Wanna fly, Bobby?
Yeah, so good, man.
Good. Love it.
Miguel Ferrer as Ed Norton,
yeah.
Ronnie Cox.
So good.
An amazing cast and an amazing film. So I'm about due for a rewatch of that film as well. I need that on 4K.
I know we were talking about it recently, and we were talking about like when I saw it in '87, being like 8 years old when that movie came out, and like that one scene where he
In the truck.
Well, no, not in the truck where he becomes RoboCop, and the sound effects when he's walking through the police station. And I just remember as a kid hearing that in the movie theater and how it reverberates through the theater.
Feel it in your chest.
You could feel it. Like I like that's the one thing that stands out about that movie is him walking through the.
I'd like to do a Verhoeven rewatch. Watch, RoboCop, Total Recall,
Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers.
Yeah,
it's awesome,
Flesh
man.
and Blood.
Yeah, I mean, if Blomkamp comes back and does this sequel, is it? I believe it's a sequel.
Supposedly.
I wouldn't mind seeing Peter Weller come back.
I don't see why
you
he
could
couldn't.
do it.
I wouldn't mind seeing him coming back in the suit.
Yeah. I wouldn't be because look at Neil Blomkamp. His intention with Alien 5, his intention was to bring back Sigourney Weaver and Michelle Pfeiffer, and then pick up directly after Aliens.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
I'm sorry, Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
Sigourney Weaver. Where the fuck did I get Michelle Pfeiffer from? I love
Into the Night.
I love
They
them
are
both.
two lovely ladies and two synapses.
Yeah, his intention to bring Sigourney Weaver back and Michael Biehn and pick up directly after Aliens. I would hope that he would share a similar sentiment with his work on this new RoboCop film. But yeah, that's my number one. It's Alex Murphy, his first day in Detroit, in old Detroit, at the new precinct. And his first and last day as Alex Murphy, the human being, before becoming RoboCop.
I think we should do a fistful of our most overused fistful movies.
Yes.
Because I was just thinking, like, if I were to do it like a generic Lisa fistful of rough starts, like Scott Pilgrim, that was a rough start to a relationship. Head. They started the movie by jumping off a bridge. That's a rough start.
Jaws.
Yeah.
That's a real rough start for that guy who was going to skinny dip with that girl, and then she got eaten by a shark.
That's a rough start to your
Lord.
day.
True.
Yeah. All right. I'll put a button in that. That's a good idea. Let us know, listeners, what your fistful of rough starts are at ItModcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can follow that guy at the Turtle Dork on Twitter, at the Turtle Dork 1 on Instagram, and at Brian William Young on Facebook. Wife Dork is at Sidewalk Siren on Twitter and Instagram. She's also at Bake Dork on Twitter and Instagram. And Brian, I already said your name, so I'm going to go ahead and say Brad. And Brad, you can find Brad at Mouth Dork on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd. And then you still doing Untapped?
Yeah, I sure am.
For real?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And Untapped as well.
I did it at the Salt Lake City airport.
All right.
I had a big tall glass of something, and it was not good.
He doesn't like it to be too hoppy. He doesn't like an IPA.
Yeah.
If you ever decide to buy Brad a beer, if you see him out.
No IPA.
Give me a stout.
Okay, I don't know what that means, but okay, I'll give you a stout. You can find me at the Disco Dork on all social medias. That's going to do it for us. Thank you all for listening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Go see Happy Death Day 2 because it's good.
It's great.
It's great.
I think it's the best film of the year so far.
Oh, all right.
I just came back from Sundance.
I was going to say, you came back from Sunday. Holy shit. All right, I can't wait to hear about that episode. That's going to do it for us. Thank you all for listening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and until next time.